Okay, start streaming, take 2. Let's see if this works now. Alright, it says live. Excellent connection. We've got... Alright, there it goes. I can see myself. So it looks like this is indeed live with an excellent connection. Alright, very good. Very good. Okay, so even though I went live earlier, I'm going to try this again. Hello, everyone. Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods here once again, and for a live video today, by surprise, taking you guys by surprise here, and I'm gonna get an audio level adjusted here. Check, 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 check. I don't know what that's doing, but all right, okay. So I don't know why that wouldn't do anything. That was kind of weird, but okay, either way, we're not going to mess with those settings. I think you can hear me okay. Let me know in the comments if you can't hear me for whatever reason. As a matter of fact, I think I can check that on my cell phone now. It should say that we're live. Let's see what it says. Okay, great. I can hear it on my phone. Perfect. Okay, so a couple quick explanations here about what today is, and a couple technicalities. If you can only hear my vocals in your left microphone or left speaker, and my guitar in your right speaker, that's because of how I had to hook it up today. My pedals are off in the truck, and my I found a way to get hooked up into my interface here just by instead of going in stereo, just by plugging in one on the left, one on the right, guitar left, microphone on the right, or whatever you guys hear, whatever way your speakers are set up. So in that regard, that is an explanation if there's any sound peculiarity, especially if you wear headphones and I'm only coming into one ear. Sorry if that's annoying, but that's how it will be today. The second issue is what my options were today. I'm limited on time. I only had time. I'll have more time on Thanksgiving to perhaps create a full video, which is what I want to do. This topic I'm going to go over today is super intense, super deep. I'll get to it in a moment, but this will be like a preview to the actual video that I purport to make, that I hope I can make. Because a produced video, an edited video, gets to the point quicker. It's easier to follow. It's just technically better than live. And so, but we're live today. I'm going to probably be a little more, I'm going to make this as for beginners as much as possible, but it will help if you're familiar with some of the methods we use on this site for how we study and learn guitar, the squares, the way we lay out the fretboard on the graph paper, and the technique we use to memorize the fretboard. You may want to go back and research some of those videos if you get lost. If you get lost anywhere, please leave a comment below and say, hey, make sure you explain at this point, I got lost, I don't know what was going on here, can you detail that more so I know where to be very specific, and on the when I create a studio edited version of this lesson. That being said, I guess if there's anything else, I'll remember, and we'll get to the point here and get to the lesson. I know there was something else that I was going to say that, but anyways, we're just going to do our best here, and we'll get to the point. Let's just get right into the lesson then. It's about, as the title should suggest, if you're watching this after the fact, which most of you probably will. I don't think many people will catch this live. I'm going to try to turn on the chat window here on my phone so I can see the chats going on as they appear. All right, I think that's how it will work. Anyways, okay. As the title will suggest, this is how to modulate into any key from the key that you're in using the pentatonic scale, meaning how to, during a solo. So how would you approach getting your guitar solo through the changes without playing, wrong notes or sounding confused or just sounding, like you didn't know what was going on. There is more than one method to do this, but the method I'm going to show you today will get you through any change that you want. Meaning, after this lesson, if you understand what's going on and how it all works, you will theoretically be able to create music that has any kind of modulation and be able to solo through it. Meaning that you'll be able to have just more emotional content to your creations, and just, how great is that? So this is going to be, I think, a very valuable, very impactful lesson. So that being said, and all you need to do is know pentatonic scales. You need to know how the major scale plays out all across the fretboard and how pentatonics fit inside the major scale. Along with that, I'm going to give you a couple of cheat codes that you can use as reference notes to know all of this. So I guess before we go, I'm going to try to do something here. We need to know that we're looking down at the fretboard just like we look at it when we play the guitar, from the top down. So when I draw out a pentatonic scale, this isn't going to work because that is too I'm going to put eventually put it down. So in this camera, you see it from the front face here: 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. So if we take the top string and count it as 1, on string 1 we go 1 4, string 2 1 3, on 3 1 3, on string 4 1 3, string 5 1 4, string 6 1 4. Let's hear it. You know that, right? I'm sure all of you know the pentatonic scale by now, and you're like thinking, wow, that's just so my basic pentatonic scale. If this can do what I'm saying, how did you not know this all these years? Well, we'll go over that. So, oh good, I got a guitar stand right here. I got a guitar stand. That's handy dandy. Hopefully that doesn't sit there making noise. Sorry about the clanking. Okay. I won't need the guitar. Let's go over the notes that we're going to need to do this. This is going to be about a 45 to an hour long live stream here. So let's see if... and I'm also getting warnings that I'm running low on disk space. As far as I understand, this shouldn't be recording to my hard drive, but it might be. So if it suddenly shuts off, then we'll continue as a part 2. So we need to know a couple things about about how to do this. So what we're going to do is use a couple codes. So first of all, there's one thing we should know. There's this neat little I want to show you I'll show you the code, but I'm going to show you kind of in a way that is shows you the geometry. So I'm going to write R for root, and then these are the notes. Like if you go to the next note in the scale, like if I was in, this was root, so I was in the key of C, this would be C sharp, or this would be B, so B, C, C sharp, right? So we're going to go all around in a circle here, kind of like the circle of fifths. So I'm going to write this 5, I'm going to put a 5 on that side, I'm going to put a 4 on that side, then I'm going to put a 3 here, and then I'm going to put a 6 here, and a 6 here, and a 2. Root 2, 5, 4. It looks like a 9, but root 2, 5, 4, 3, 6, 2, 6, 3, 4, 5, 2. See how, isn't that interesting how that makes like a circle? If you notice that it's basically a mirror image on each side. So what this means is if I go up one whole step, or the note, just so C to C sharp, that scale shares 2 notes. The next note, D, if I switch to the key of D from the key of C, those share 5 notes. If I switch to the key of D sharp, they share 4 notes. And the key of D sharp. Was that where I was? D sharp? No, now I'm on E. So if I go from C to E, they share 3 notes. So what's the value in understanding this? Is this the greater the number, the more notes they share, meaning the less you'll notice that keys have changed. And one peculiar thing to notice here is there's a 6 and a 6 here. These would be the most benign changes, the changes you might not notice the most. The funny thing is that is the flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4. Flat 5th, 5th. So check out how that works. You have the 4th and the 5th, root 4, 5. You've heard of 1, 4, 5 in the blues before. And the reason that is so common is because that is even if you were to change keys, those are the strongest chords related to the root. So it kind of stands to reason that those also share the greatest amount of notes. I just thought that was interesting. Not anything we really have to know today, but it's just kind of cool. So, and look at the ones that share the least amount of notes. A half step above. You know, if music suddenly changes a half step above, it's almost going to sound like a mistake. But because it only shares 2 notes, it's a very abrupt change. So abrupt and not abrupt. Let's think in the let's think in the thought of movie scores. If you were in a movie, creating a movie scene, and you had the chords moving in a key, and then there's an abrupt change of ideas in the movie, you might want an abrupt key change. You might, if you wanted the most abrupt change possible, you would either move it up a half step below, or the flat 5th, the tritone, the devil's interval. You've heard of that really awkward interval, the hard interval, the one in the 7th chord. There's a lot of different ways you keep hearing about tritones and all of the music theory research that you're doing. And here's just to kind of go along with everything that you're learning about that. It's the strongest, it's the most tough to use. Oh, that's because it only shares, if you actually change keys, it only shares 2 notes. That would be an abrupt key change. As a kind of a noticeable key change that's not going to be like kind of sort of easy to miss, but you kind of want people to, you know, get the sense that something has changed, you might choose to go to the scale that shares 5 notes. Now, this occurs in a lot of pop songs, especially at the ending. You hear it, you know, na 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 na, na 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 na. You know, like it kind of goes up, like it just. I can't remember if I know there's pop songs that are very popular that do this, and maybe I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's plenty. So when they do that, it's a nice noticeable change, and it's kind of only 5 notes shared. So it's sort of it's not abrupt as say a 4-note change. Now we're into like, this is very common. I think this. I have no definitive proof of this. This is a very common jazz change, right here to 4 notes. It's kind of like right in the middle. It's not as unnoticeable as a 6, but it's not as close as 5. It's just a little bit farther away, but it's not totally out of the question. So you've got 4 notes. So you definitely know that the key's changed. There's a new idea, a new set of emotions happening, but it's not that far out of the question. And then a 3 is just a little bit more extreme from that, probably on the abrupt side. So if you needed your song idea was completely changing direction, you might want to change to this key. When you hear about borrowed chords, you're probably getting a lot of borrowed chords in songs from this key right here, because these chords will almost sound like they're in the home key, but they give you a couple extra options. When you hear about, but you got all these options, you can borrow a chord, and anytime you borrow a chord, it's going to follow under one of these changes, and you can use this method here to handle a guitar solo under some of these changes. So what we want to do with this information is make it a little bit easier to handle. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to write it out straight down the line here and give it some other reference points. So we want root. So this is what you're going to want to write here. 2. And what's really neat about this is it's almost like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's not. There's a little bit of a twist to it. So it's 2, 5, 4, 3. The 5, 4, and 3 are obviously backwards, and then it's 6. And then it's 2 exactly in the middle, and it counts backwards from there. Let's check it all out. 2, 5, 4, 3. And once I went through this a little bit, this is all easily, it's all on the top of my head right now. I don't have to think about it. I don't need a chart. So another thing about this to note is if you write these notes out, study it, play with it, because it's musical and it's fun to noodle around with this stuff and experiment musically with this. Once you do that enough, it becomes in here because you're having fun using all the information, and it easily becomes something that you've memorized. So I'll try to look at the camera a little more here, but I'm looking, when you see me looking up when I talk, it's because I'm looking up at my screen, just making sure I look okay, I guess. So anyways, there you guys are. So, 5, 4, 3, 6, 2, 6, like a Mazda 626. If you're old like me and you remember that old model of some foreign car from Mazda, a Mazda 626. Anyways, 3, 4, 5, 2, and you're back to the root. Theoretically, that should be box number 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Back to the root. Awesome, because there's 12 notes in a key. So let's get an idea about these 12 notes. Once again, we write the root note down. This is what you want to know. You want to be able to reference this. So you'll know that this is a half step. This is a regular 2. For the minors, we make the 3 a little, we make the, when you've got, like, you've got 2 2s here, a flat 2 and a regular 2, you make the flat one a little smaller to help the beginners understand. A 4, a flat 5th, a 5th, the sharp 5th, and then you got a 6, a flat 7, and a 7. All right, so now you know your intervals. If you're going to move to a flat 7, it's 2. And you can also see an interesting relationship here where, like, a flat third, moving to a flat third is very similar to moving to a 6th, or moving down. So let's say you were in C, you would be moving down to B, B flat, A. So if you suddenly change to the key of A, you're going to share 4 notes: A, B, C, C. Okay, so you want to write that down. You might want to reference the key of C here, so let's not do that. Let's just keep this as it is now. There's another thing we can write down with that. I have it in my my other notes, but let's just keep that as that right now. So that's going to tell you right there. You still can't solo. You still don't know the little interesting things about how the pentatonic can make any of these possible. But yeah, let's just organizing my thoughts here. So I guess I went over everything I wanted to go over there. But as you can see here, the 4th and the 5th are at 6 and 6, and like we talked about, the flat 5th tritone is at the 2 and the 2. So also, what we're going to do is we'll start with the 2s here. There's 3 2s here. I guess this is what I wanted to say. Okay, so notice that there's 3 2s. Everything else is just doubled. There's 2 5s, 2 4s, 2 3s, 2 6. Mathematically speaking, because of the amount of notes, one of them would have to have more than 2, and the rest of them would have 2. And it's kind of neat. It just packages nicely that it's the 2s, the scales that only use 2 notes, the most abrupt change. And notice a couple other things. There's no scale that you can go to that doesn't share any notes with any other scale. And there's no scale that just shares 1 note in the major scale. So kind of a neat thing to learn there. And there's no scale that shares 7 notes because, well, that's the same scale. 7 notes is 7 notes, right? So There you go. Now you could say, well, Mark, wait a minute. The A minor scale shares 7 notes with the C major scale. Well, that's a version. That's all inside. There are, and you can easily get around that confusion by just referring to those as modes. C Ionian is the same as the D Dorian and E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, natural minor, Aeolian, same thing. Don't let that confuse you, but for those who get it, you guys know what's going on. Anyways, but not nothing you need to know. So this is for not changes within a key, which would just be a modal interchange. This is an actual key change, a modulation. So a modulation from one key to another. So how can we handle that? Well, to do that, we're going to need one more series of notes. I'm going to show you this neat little thing here. I'm going to draw. Let's consider this center as our root. All right, we can even put an R there for root. Now I'm going to draw a point here, a point here. I'm going to draw a point, a point. As a matter of fact, I'm going to kind of represent some boxes here. So there's a neat little. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of another little bit of geometry here that you can see pans out. If you flip this around, which I can't do right now, it maintains the same geometry, which is interesting. It's kind of the way that the circle there is the mirror image of itself. So I'm going to draw some lines here, some connecting lines here. One like this, one like this, one like this, and one like this. Believe it or not, you do want to get to know this shape. And you're like, what in the fuck did you just... what the hell is that? Okay, excuse my language for the young folks that watch this. You have a pattern, a trail of a sequence that kind of the logic follows like this. Starting here, numerically moving in this direction, numerically moving in this direction, numerically moving in that direction, and numerically moving in that direction. This is going to be a guide for which way you could move to accomplish a modulation. It's not the way we're going to actually tackle it, but this will give you. This is also one way to mentally get it all visualized. Okay, so let's write that out. So we're going to go and root. Remember, it was 6, 6. This is the tritone here. That's that. How it goes, tritone, root, tritone. Let's just write 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see how it goes like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, the way that goes. The tritone is tritone, root, tritone. So if you're wondering what I mean there, let's say you take C, and what's the tritone of C is F sharp, right? Yeah, G flat, F sharp. Yeah, so that would be F sharp, C, F sharp, C, F sharp, C. The fretboard is working like that, except for the string change between that we always talk about between the G and the B string. Okay, so all this holds true on any of the top 4 strings. If you're in between the top 4 and the bottom 2, then it breaks up, obviously. But anyways, so this is what we need to know. We don't need to think about that. So notice that the 6s stack up neatly. That's this row here. This is your 4th. I'm sorry, that's your 4th, and this is your 5th. If you know that on the guitar, when you play a C note, the G note is on top of the C. The G at the 3rd fret is on top of the C at the 3rd fret. And you have a 5th, which is also right here, and there's your octave shape. So your G is also here. So you have a 5th, because you might know like a power chord, root 5th. Just that's why I brought that up. And then you have your 4th is right down here, and then you know your 1, 4, 5 chords for blues like this. G, C the 4, G the 1, D the 5, C the 4, be the 1, 4, and 5. Okay, so put this guitar down here and see if that'll work. I don't know if I can put it on, balance it on my lap while I try to write here. That's going to be a problem. So forgive me while whoa, things collapsing over here. Come on, come on. Let's get this and put it right here. Much better. Okay. There, now it's right behind me. Okay, perfect. Ooh, getting hot in here. I got the heat turned on. I don't control the heat in my apartment, so I even have the front door open, and it's like 40 degrees out today, but the heat's cranking in here. I got too many shirts on. My Rush shirt, so you can see the star and the guy in the star, but that's not what we're talking about. So anyways, that was the 1-4-5 that we talked about here, and then we've got, a half step down, a half step up from the root, and then there's your other intervals, and let's make an interval list that goes along with this. So maybe we'll do that right here. So root, so you want to put down your 5th, your 4th, your that's the pair of 7s here, pair of 3s here, 2s here, and then your sharp 5th and your 6th. A sharp 5th could be considered a flat 6, and that would make this chart a little bit more, memorable, or I guess geometric, as I guess is the word I'm looking for. But anyways, so you can see here, that's how the intervals work. If you go down a 7th, a major 7th, you share 2 notes. If you go up a major 7th, you share 2 notes. I'm sorry, if you go up to the the flat 2, you share 2 notes. If you go to a 2, a whole step away, you're going to share 5 notes. So from the key of C to the key of D, they're going to share 5 notes. All right, so here for the tritone, you can just write flat 5 and flat 5, and so you can see it's kind of like in that direction, that's all you get. In other directions, it keeps changing intervals, but this direction is kind of interesting in that it's always the same interval. It's root flat 5th, root flat 5th, root flat 5th. That's kind of an interesting thing, that the notoriousness of the flat 5th also has a notorious geometry on the fretboard. I think that's really interesting. You might think so too. So you want to write this note down, and that way you can kind of know if you're we know that on the fretboard there's a square of notes. We can know this even from the key of C here. Let me move this up so you guys can see what I'm writing here. Let me write it down here so we can have everything on the screen at once. We know that there's a block of notes on the fretboard. In the key of C, it goes B, C, E, F. Every key uses the 2 half steps in the same spot. This is going to be something very important to know coming up here in a second. So one thing to know is the root note, the do in do, re, mi, fa, si, sol, la, ti, do, is always right here on the guitar fretboard. No matter whatever you move this, if you move this to the key of C sharp, if you move this green note to C sharp, you're in the key of C sharp, and you're going to have your half steps organized on the fretboard accordingly. They're just going to have new note names in here. If you move this up to D, you're going to have new note names in here, but the actual placement of the notes on the fretboard, the geometry, the geometric structure is the same, which is really cool about guitar. And it's kind of like the way the guitar works versus the way the piano works in that visual sense where you've got the black keys lined up. You've only got a picture of one key on the piano keyboard, and you adjust for that one picture, where the scale on the guitar is always the same picture, it just moves up and down. Anyways, that was a little bit of an abstract discussion, but you'll understand that if you're a beginner and you use this method a lot. So because what I'm getting at here is because that is the root note of your scale. So if you're in the your parent key. So and you can even think about this if you're using modes of this key. Like let's say I was using this as the root, so I was playing in Lydian because that's the fourth. The fourth is always Lydian. You can look at my other videos to get the notes that you can write, so you can memorize this stuff really easily. So even if I was using that as the parent or as the mode of the moment, that's still the parent key, and this is the way you'll move this box, move this green note, so this whole box moves in this direction, and you'll get your key change. So that's one way to do it without even having to know about pentatonics. If you were jamming and you knew where your square was, which is your square is always located in a pentatonic box, your square is what turns a pentatonic box into a full 7-note scale. Remember, the pentatonic is a 5-note version of a 7-note scale. It's eliminated 2 notes to create a 7-note scale, but add in 2 more notes, which is adding in the square. So, for example, if I played the C here, let's say I knew, I was jamming in the key of C. Whatever, you're in the key, we're noodling around notes and the chords in the key of C, and we're playing a solo. And we're changing to the key that is, let's go to a 4. So we want a key all the way over here, so I would basically move my C here up to from the C note here. We need to go up to the top string and over, and that would be the key of A. Now that would be a little bit abrupt. What we'd like to know is what are the 2 notes that actually, or the 4 notes that actually make this change, so that when the chords change, what to do. I guess this would be the ultimate point right here of how this method will help you seamlessly solo through the changes, is to know like, for example, if we're using a 4-note change, what 4 notes could I be playing during the change that will sound good for both keys? You just play a lick in both, in all those 4 notes, and once the key changes, you expand into the new scale, and it'll sound good. It'll sound kind of neat the way you do that. But you need to be able to easily visualize this, so it's not like a mental struggle, Now, of course, you're composing this music, or maybe if someone has some music that does this, you're going to play over in a band or something, you should have time to study this before you actually just get on stage or get in front of people or record or whatever. But let's say you're presented with this on the fly. This method could even help you. You'd have to study it a lot, but it could even help you on the fly to do any key change. It'll depend on how good your memory is and how much you study this method. But let me show you. It's easy enough that you can handle this. So let's get into it. Let's start with the 2s. The terrible 2s, yeah. Okay, so we know the 2s are a half step above and a half step below, and at the tritone. So easily enough. Oh, I got lots of pages with lots of notes here. Here's a blank page that we'll use. Let's draw a quick we gotta move up here. So, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 6? Let's hope so. How'd I do? Alright, perfect. So let's just choose right here for our pentatonic scale. We can draw that real quick. Just go in here, and here, and then here, and here, and then, oh, that one goes all the way up. And this one goes to 2, and to 2. And then we'll just kind of go like this, just to make it kind of neat for you folks here. Oh, I messed up there. I kind of didn't. Anyways. Okay, so here's our pentatonic scale. 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Like I said, looking from the top down, like we look at our guitar when we jam, we kind of look at it like you guys look at it. Wow. That my chord is not long enough to show you, so I think maybe what I can do is, hey, I've got more guitars. So when you look at your guitar, you're looking down at the fretboard like this, from the top. Like, see the top of the neck here? So you look down at it like this. So that's just for the people brand new to this. I know a lot of you guys know my method. Okay, so in case this was alien to you for some reason, or the accidental square, I drew their 3 off. So if you wanted to go down one step, well, basically you're just going to play, or if you want to go up, the key change that's a half step below and a half step up, well, that's pretty easy. Just slide your pentatonic scale up 1 or down 1, and away you go. You don't really have to know which 2 notes are the changeover notes, but if you want to be a little less abrupt, it might help to know those. So how could we know that? Well, let's say we were, what we have to, okay, oh, sorry. A little Zen moment here. Clear off. Okay. What we got to know first here is a little bit about pentatonic scales. We've got to know something about the pentatonic scale and the regular major scale. Okay. So we talked about, dear notepad, can I please have a blank page? Okay. A little bit about scales. Remember we talked about the square a second ago. Well, one thing to know is that your square of notes always connects in this direction. It follows the tritone row here. So, because it stands to reason, if B and F are right here, B and F are right here, and B and F would also be right here, but that is if this is the 6th string, and that's going to be the high E string, E, A, D, G, B, E, then because of the string shift, we have that little anomaly here, which is, once again, as I always say, why this method never jumped out at you, this little geometry. And the rest of the notes in the scale, B, C, E, F, or your 1, 3, 4, 7, always have the 2 notes over here and over here. That's your 1, this is your 2. Your 2 is always repeated there. Then you have your 6 here, which is the G, and the 5th there, that's the G, and the 6th there, that's the A. So if you wanted to write this down as something that's not, using the major scale can confuse people, so let's just make another example directly below it here. This is separate from this. It's the same thing, but you could write 1, 2, 2. It's the 3rd note of the scale, the 4th note, the 5th note, the 6th note, and the 7th note, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? So, your scale just basically, it's so simple. it does this. The square goes here. As is above, so is below. Make a half square here. Then you're using the alternate pairs of strings. So you'd pair up the inside pair here. Now the inside pair here falls over the change, so we have a broken box here, which is another reason that this never jumped out at you. Then you normally connect from the bottom of the broken box, because remember that's B, C, E, F. So the F is always with the B and C, and then directly as is above, so is below happens again. And that's just a quick explanation of something I've explained a million times on this channel, just for the beginners. We got to know that. The rest of you can hopefully have skipped past this a little bit. So in other words, this would be E and F. B, C, E, F, B, C, E, F, B, C, E, F, and then the same thing happens here. Your 1, 3, 4, 7. Just instead of writing B, C, E, F, we'll mix it up here, and then we'll make it your 7134 box. Okay, so you know what's going on here. Now, if you filled in all those other 2 notes, like I said, you're going to fill in every note of the major scale, and you're going to have a complete major scale drawn out on your graph paper, because that is how it works, my friends. Now, notice something. As I draw that, did you see what just developed there? So, 2 things we want to pick up. That there's 2 angled rows will create the entire major scale, and from here to here, that's 12 notes. You're repeated, you're at the octave of your guitar. So notice this though. A pentatonic scale has showed up. Okay? And I wanted you to notice this even more. So B, C, there must be 1 note right there. There must be broken notes right there, like a wall of the same wall here, but it's at that angle for the string shift. Here there's 1, and of course turns into a stack of 3 the way that the geometry of the guitar works. Here's your B, C, E, F. There must be a wall of notes right there. There it is. We're calling this a wall of notes. There's a square and a wall, and so there must be there's another one here, another square here. So we've got to complete that note, and I'll show you why in a second. So we've got our 1 pentatonic there. There's 3 pentatonic shapes in your major scale, and it makes sense because pentatonics, if you know your pentatonic scale, where were we back at that 1 pentatonic? Something else. I'll just give you a quick note on here to help the beginners know exactly what's going on. Well, here, I'll draw it out here. Pentatonic scale. Do 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 do. 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. Minor root, major root. Wherever I put this scale, if I put this on the A note and the C note on the guitar, because A, B, C, right? What do you know? A minor, C major. The C major scale, the A minor scale, all in the same key. So this is always a major, and this is always a minor. Well, there's actually 3 major chords in the C major chord scale, which is the C major scale set up as chords. So the C major chord scale makes 3 major chords, 3 minor chords. Yes, there's a diminished chord. Let's just throw that information out for right now and not worry about it. So if there's 3 major scales, 3 major chords, and 3 minor chords, there must be 3 pentatonic shapes. So are there 3 pentatonic shapes in the major scale? Let's find them. So let's say for an example that this was A and this was C, and that means that if we put our chord, if I played a bar chord, where did I put that thing? I'll never find it now. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Right here. I should know, I got a couple of blank pages right there. Okay, so if I put this, actually isn't the one, but it'll work. Major, minor, major. If I put a bar chord there, this chord here, and I play this pentatonic, it's going to sound major. If I put my chord shape, my bar chord shape here, oops, and take away this note and make it there, because that note's no longer there, make it a minor chord, because it's minor, then this pentatonic shape is going to sound minor. So the chord for minor would start right here, and the chord for major would start right here, basically here, 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 using that note. Okay? Or you can think of the G shape, right? This is the E bar chord shape you can see right there. We'll use that as X's. And for O's, this would be the G major shape, or the G chord shape. You just don't see that because you're using open strings for you beginners that just know the G open chord shape, but those are the notes the G shape uses. So, okay, major and minor. So, since there's 3 major and 3 minor, there must be 3 pentatonic scales. Where are they? Let's take a look if some of the notes also line up as a pentatonic scale. And I know that just automatically because I can see my square here, and that tells me as soon as you get familiar with this, you'll always know where you're. And there's a note right there. We didn't put the box in, but there's our box, so there must be a wall right there, and there's our note. And so 1 1 4 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4, and of course, yes, there is a note right there. There's our B C, and a whole step before B C. There's our A note right there. Okay, so there's our other pentatonic. Where's our third pentatonic? And so you can always think of when the box is at the bottom, it straddles what we're going to call the Dorian and Phrygian pentatonic scale. Now, don't worry about modes. Let's just call them by that name, and just to give them a name. If you start to think about, I could explain to you why they're got that modal name and what the relationship is to the modes, but that would just confuse everything, and it's not even needed. Let's just say we need fancy names just to name them. So we could even list this as orange Dorian shape. And so Dorfi is combined with the square. It overlaps. Aeolian sits out on its own. Let's use pink for Aeolian. And where the heck is Aeolian? Is there another pentatonic shape available? Like, where the heck could that be? And it's right here, my friends. And so actually, well, before I say that, notice the square here is at the top. The square, which eventually connects you into the Dorian Phrygian group. You can use that as a navigation system to get from Aeolian to Dorian and Phrygian, and you've basically got your whole fretboard. Just on that understanding, you've got your whole fretboard under your hand. You could even go using the secondary row here. We call this the main row when the boxes are 1, 2, and 3. And when the broken box row, call that the secondary box row. You could use your secondary box row to get back into right into Phrygian, and then you're in Dorian, and then you could go back and you're in Aeolian, and you have very simply and very easily not only your whole fretboard underneath your hands, but also the notes in between the pentatonic shapes that create the major scale. So the final thing then I was going to say, now that we know that we have a box at the top for Aeolian and a box at the bottom for Dorian and Phrygian, just to tie it all together, prove to you that this is legitimate, C and A, then we must have B, or we must have, B would be the diminished chord. We have D as a minor chord. We have E as a minor chord. So what if this was the D? And what if this was the E? Oh, look at that. D and E. That must be an F. And look at that. E, F, or E, F squared. So D, E, F. What's our missing note here? Does it fit in between F and A? D, E, F. Is there one note that fits? E, F, G, A, B, C. Oh. right? Let's give it again. Because that's big for beginners. Your mind has been blown. Thank the Rush fan later. Okay, sorry. Being a little bit gloaty there. So what we got there then is a easy way to know the fretboard, and something that's going to come up here when we to know pentatonics, how pentatonics fill out, and then how we can know which notes are the transfer notes in between scales. So that being said, you know what's terrible about this? Now I don't know like where my other note was, but I guess it don't even matter. Blue morning, blue day, won't you see things my way? Okay, so let's say, for example, we were in the Aeolian scale, which is a pentatonic scale with 2 gut notes added. It's kind of like one thing maybe I should go over there is so your 3 pentatonic shapes, the 3 platonic pentatonics. I don't know if that made any sense, but it sounded neat. Let's draw them out just as fast as I can here. I'm going freehand here. It's very sloppy, but we got to get to the point here as quick as possible. Now remember that Dorian and Phrygian overlapped, but I'm going to separate them just for this explanation here. So we're going to have our Dorian, our Phrygian, and our, let's put Aeolian down here. Okay. And another thing, I'm just going to check my stream right here, make sure everything's still going okay and hasn't for some reason cut off. I have supposedly an expensive fiber optic connection, so this is supposed to be solid and good to go. Alright, so it says excellent connection, so error. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Keyframes are not being sent often enough, which will cause buffering. Alright, so I have no idea what that means. Hopefully you guys aren't experiencing major buffering, because that would really suck. And hence why I'm probably just going to get rid of all this. I've got to get rid of this apartment. It's costing me too much money. I'm never here. As you know, I'm a trucker, and I drive a van across country delivering freight for my cash, for my money, for my living, and that makes it so I can't produce lessons, and I can't be here, and so I should just get rid of all this stuff anyways. Okay, sorry. Dorian, Phrygian, Aeolian. How does it all work? You need to create a pentatonic scale into a major scale. All you need to do is fill out 2 notes in between the 4 note. This is we gotta get some names here. When we have our 1-4-1-4, let's call that the 4 note box, and then let's call that the 3x3. Okay. So we have our 4 note box and our 3x3. That's what makes up the pentatonic scale. You say, well, what about this one? Well, this is just a repeat of that one. It's the E string and the E string. So it's the actual version of that box. So if, in essence, if you had a B string guitar, a guitar with that extra 7th string at the top, you would have this exact shape at the top. Okay, so that being said, all we need to do is fill out 2 notes in between here, and we need to hang 2 notes on the opposite on. We need to hang 2 notes on the outside of this shape somewhere. So, for example, for Dorian, we have the 2 notes go in here on this side, creating that box. On the outside, they hang off of one side here. Dorian is a little lopsided, and then you can see the boxes showing up there just the same way they showed up in the last lesson, in the last little segment there. For Phrygian, you use the other side of the 2, maintaining that these are the exact same notes on the exact same spot of the fretboard. That's, remember, the overlap. These are connected. And then you hang your, you use the opposite information here, where this hangs a box on the left side. This one hangs it, and it uses the bottom 2. This one uses the top 2 on the opposite side. So we would put our box right here. We'd have our 4 notes there. For Aeolian, it's the balanced scale, so it balances everything out there. So it has on the bottom string it's there, and on this one it's there. It's split. You remember that from our scale shape. And just to be clear here, since that kind of note gets boxed in there but is not used, so we split it up here and here, and then on this one we do the same thing. We have one on this side and we have one on this side, creating our box up here because that note is that note. And there's our box once again, which leads you down into the box here, which is this box, which is that box, which leads you into this scale, which gets that box, which leads you into that box, and on and on and on and on. So there's very quickly, so you can slow down and just play that over and over again to just see how that all plays out. Okay, so now that we know that, let's get to the point of modulating here. We've got a ton of information to go over here, so this could go on another hour. We're going to try not to do that. So let's say you had Aeolian here as where we were jamming. We were jamming in Aeolian and we want to modulate down a half step. Now, of course, we're going to just drop our pentatonic scale down a half step, but during the change, we want to just focus on those two notes. But what are those two notes? Well, let's take a look here. If Aeolian is here, here, hear ye, hear ye, every black dot is a note. Woo-hoo. All right. We've got our Aeolian scale. Well, let's say we, what if we went down, let's draw a pentatonic scale up. Can I use yellow here? Is that going to show up? I don't think that's going to be bright enough. Let's use orange. Ah, there's an overlap note. There's an overlap note. There's an overlap note. But that's the same note, so where's the other note? Well, we have our gut notes here. We have to put one here and one there, and there's our other note. And we have to do, oh yeah, we put one here, and then we put one, we've already got the one on the outside there. So, we've got it. So we know that, in essence, this note here, so we'll mark out our original pentatonic in green. And now we'll use a blue square for the notes that are going to overlap here, and that's this note, this note, and this note. Hold on. Oh, you know it's this note and this note. So as you can see, it's basically it's right in our box here. It's the left side of our box. So in other words, geometry says that wherever we are, if we're in Dorian, these notes right here in our box here are going to be the overlap notes that will work for our solo in between both. So, for example, during the change, we would want to stay on both of those notes. So, for example, if I was playing here, well, let's say here, a C major chord. But my key is going to go down here. So my two notes that are going to be the same are right here. But I'm going to be thinking while I play these two notes that this is going to become this. So during the change, when I want to start playing the new scale, if I play this as a line during the change, but I I was here. It's going to be. So in other words, oops, sorry. Let me try that again. Okay, so we have C. You can hear how those notes will sound congruent with the chord, mostly this one, which is the root note. Then you have the 4, so it might sound better if it goes to here. And you say, hey, Mark, gee, boy, that sounds a little bit better going to a suspended chord, because the one note stays the same. The third stays the same for both chords. And the two notes are shared in both chords for here. Now that doesn't sound as good. If you were playing perhaps a 7th chord, it might sound better. I'm doing something wrong there, sorry. I'm playing some wrong notes there, but here we go again. Well, I think it would be a little clearer if I could actually. I don't have any way of recording that, and so I have like a backing track of. But if you did that, you'd play those two notes right before the notes change to. Alrighty, so we don't want to get hung up too long there, so just as an example, I won't play through the changes on the other ones, but just so you could see like how even in abrupt one there is some sense to this. You'd play those two notes, and those two notes would be into the and I used Dorian in when I just played because it was just easier for me to know the squares broken here. It's these two notes right here. Keep on playing these two notes, but you'd go for the higher chord you would go up here, and for the lower, oh sorry, I just got a some notification on my phone. For the lower notes it would be, you'd be playing, so you'd be playing here, here, the X would be the You can think like that, like you're playing these two notes and then you're blast into this scale for the lower chord, and then when the moves back to the, so like for example for the B in this example, the B suspended 4, and then the or the just B4 chord, I guess you could call it. When it went up to the C7 chord, you could, or C major 7th chord, should I say, you would be playing the same two notes, but you would be thinking about them like this. They would move into this section of the scale. Make sense? So you're thinking, you're da 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 da, then you think about that and play there, and then you're da 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 da, and you think about, then you're playing the same scale, just basically a half step up. So there's a pentatonic, or the major scale, the Aeolian version, using the two gut notes inside like that, or using the two gut notes of the Dorian scale to play like that. Anyways, okay. That was a little off screen there, but never mind. Let's I'm gonna cut this short. This is what I'm gonna do here today because I think we're running out of good time here. Maybe I'll do two more. I'll skip to the 4, and then I'll skip to the 6, and then when I make this as a regular lesson, we'll go straight through the whole thing, and I can refer to this live lesson here for the notes that we needed, and that might be what I do. Okay, so that being said, what if we wanted to share 4 notes? What 4 notes are the same? Another way you can think about this is just by we need a 4-note change. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, and so we know first of all, root 2, 5, 4. So we're going to E flat, D sharp, E flat. So that's our 1, and we know I know that my major scale goes 1, 2, 3, then don't skip a step and go 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's going to be on the C, and 4. And there's our final half step. Our half step and our half step. Just like in our original scale, we have our half step and our half step. So, which notes overlap? So we're going to have D, we're going to have F, we're going to have G, and C. Interesting that it's the of the original key, it's the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 5 becomes the 7. So we're in E flat, so that's the 1. We're going to have the 2, 3, and what's the other one here? Well, it's before 6 and 7. So our 1, 2, 4, 5 becomes our, just getting my bearings here. Let's check that out. Hello, hello, hello. I wonder why I don't see that broadcast in there. Well, anyways. See what it says. Oh, okay, there I am live. Okay, great. Okay, so that being said, all we really need to do is C, D, E, F. So C, D, E, F, that sounds familiar. Why don't we draw all that out really quick? We could know it as our, hello blank pages, where are you? Okay, so in one way we could know this by note names. We know this is our scale. If we're starting with the key of C, we know it was C, D, D, E, and F, or no, it was F and G, sorry. C, D, F, and G. So look at that, a nice square of notes that I'll highlight right there. So there's our, and when I see this shape, I can see my Dorian scale. I know that this, if I just put this box at the bottom of the scale, there's my Dorian and Phrygian right there on the bottom two strings. So I know I'm going to take my Phrygian shape here, and I'm going to be using these two notes, but where are they going to go? So we could also, you can use this for any key without having to know the note names. Get all, that's too much information. You could just simply know this as, you know that you need your 1, your 2, your 4, and your 5. We'll share 4 notes. So, and we'll just put it there just in case, we need that. Our 1, 2, 4, and a 5 are becoming our what? They're becoming our, what did we say before? See, this is the problem here. Now I lost that page, but it was our, I could just write that out again. It's very easy. Let's see if we can find it. I think we're here. Okay, cool. So, well, that was lucky. 2, 3, 6, and 7. So where's our 2, 3, 6, and 7? So on our new scale, basically our shape is going to move. We're going to, those, oops, sorry. We're going to need, it's going to become our, we're going to need a, here we go. Let's move it over here. So we're going to need a 2, 3, and 6 and 7. Now we know that 6 is above the 2. Actually, 6 is above the 2, and because actually we know that our 1 is going to become a 6, right? Is that how it works? Yeah, look at that. Our 1 is going to become a 6, our 2 is going to become a 7, our 4 is going to become a 2, and our 5 is going to become a 3. So look at that. The same square shows up again. 2, but it's 6, 2, 3, 7 now. Where is that in our knowledge of our guitar geometry? Well, the 6 is always here, the 2 is always there, the 2 is always here, and the 1 and the 4 and the 5 are always here. So in other words, this square shape here, these notes here, the C, the D, the F, and the G, are now going to be here, C, D, F, and G. So if we were at C, D, F, and G on our guitar fretboard, we would be playing our shape, we'd be in our Phrygian pentatonic here, right? So that would be here and here, and then we've got that note right there, but the top note there, the 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4 with the 2 gut notes. So we'd be in our Phrygian shape. Now what shape would we want to be in here? Oh, we'll be in our Dorian shape, but we're not jumping down to that original, we're not going to jump down. That would stay in the key. We're going to actually reposition. So in other words, our we would be thinking about just this, we'd be playing on these 4 notes, and then we would just suddenly have this whole thing at our dispense. So you can see also that it would just simply, it's one more time, it's moving up 1, just like if you were changing to a 2 note, the pentatonic is moving up. But instead of just moving the pentatonic up and thinking that, you would be playing, in essence, you could theoretically play some wrong notes at the wrong time, just simply shifting the shape up 1. But if you were playing in this shape and suddenly morphed into, so let me kind of try to show you here. So here's the C and the D. Let's see here. Okay, so C, D, F, G. Oh, I'll show you here on the 13, 15, and 13, 15. So in essence, if I was playing this scale first with the C, D right here, I know my box is behind me. I'm in the Phrygian shape here, just like on the major scale. There's just an example of me only playing those 4 notes, using the notes behind to bend up. You can use a lick like that to get in between the as the chords are changing, just before the chords change. Just you're in this key and you need to end up, so you'd be here. You know, it's all you need, just something like that. And then all of a sudden, I'd be thinking of my 4 notes as being here. I would be here. Actually, I'd be better off playing the E flat, like I said we were in. So see, those chords are not related at all, but what you heard was, see, there's this. Don't sound too bad together, but they're not in the same key. But because there is a relationship there, and that's the relationship. They probably share some notes. So for here, now I'm going to change, so I'm going to use these 4 notes. You can hear that these 4 notes work perfectly with this chord. But the structure around them has changed. So, do you guys get that? Before the transition, just jam on these 4 notes. They'll work under both, and then you just expand into the new scale, which is connected to these 4 notes. You're in both scales with these 4 notes, so you just have to think about where your box is. So another way to say this really simple is that your box, if I was once I was in the key of when I was in the key of C, the box is behind the 4 notes. As soon as I went up to the key of E flat, the box was ahead of the 4 notes. So my root note went from here, which was, I had a root note as one of the, then my root note shifted out of the box. But, so you can see here, I was playing with the square behind the 4 notes, connected to it, and then the square went ahead of the 4 notes. I was still in the box. I was just in the back of the box. Here, I was in the front of the box. Very similar to the 2-note change, but that works with its own metric. You can graph all this out yourself now. You can do this with a 6-note change. That's very easy. It's going to use the pentatonic, the complete pentatonic plus. Think about this. Your 5-note change, your 5 notes, pentatonic. Guess what? It uses all the same notes as the pentatonic. So you're basically, the 5-note change is one of the easiest ones. The 5-note change, you're basically changing from, let's say, a Phrygian. Just change the, you're changing the gut notes into a Dorian. And you've got your 5-note change there. The one of the other changes uses the pentatonic, but it uses Aeolian changing into. Oh, that's a 6-note change. A 6-note changes from Aeolian into Phrygian changes you, I believe, would that be a fourth or a fifth? Let me look at that really quick. Here's a that's a fifth. So if you want to go down, so you'd switch it to an Aeolian scale. If you were, say your root note was this note here, F, you were playing an F, and you want to shift down into C, which is a fifth, you would change from playing a Phrygian scale shape there to an Aeolian scale shape. Right in the pentatonic doesn't even move. So a fifth and a sixth are super easy because the pentatonic stays exactly the same. In a second and a fourth, the pentatonic only moves up or down a half step. And the third, why don't we explore just for the shits and giggles, now that my mind is, oh yeah, I think that's coming to me now. This one, so a third can get a little tricky there. And then we didn't do the flat fifth either. We were going to do all the twos first. The flat fifth, you're basically moving your scale at an angle. Just move your box down this way, and you could handle that by taking an Aeolian shape and moving it into a Phrygian shape a half step up. So make it a half step up plus make it Phrygian and play these two notes, and you would be able to handle a tritone shift, which is very unlikely. I don't think you're going to make much music that suddenly abruptly changes a tritone, but if you did, you can solo right through it by using that information. Because we know that, and I'm thinking about the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings here. If I put my box on the 5th and 6th string, I automatically know, like we went over before, I've got my Aeolian box here. 1 4 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4, and then I would just move it all up, and then I would have because a Phrygian has the pentatonic on the 5th and 4th strings, it has the box on the 5th and 4th strings, but it would be also a half step up. Not a big deal, but you'd want to know what are the changeover notes, but the tritone row in the box is right through that part of the box. And notice, so most of these changes involve either like it's going to be like these notes are the same, or these notes are the same, or these notes are the same in the box. Okay, so that being said, what about that 3-note change? Let's try that out. You could take your parent key. I got some notes there. Let's find a real blank page here. Come on. I was just looking at what I was writing down that day. Here's your master box here that has, you could write this kind of box down. You could pause it right here and put your modulation code right there that we went over in the beginning of the lesson. Okay, 3 notes. So how would that work? C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now we have root 2, 5, 4, 3, 6, 2, 6, 5, 3, 4, 5, 2, back to the root. So we want a 3-note change, which is going to be, didn't we do that in the beginning? I think we did. Wasn't that the first one we did? Yeah, I think we did that already, but I don't know. Stoner here is ex-stoner, and don't do that anymore. But Three notes, what would that be? So let's say how's our pentatonic or our scale system goes 1, 2, 3. Put your half step there, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. We're going to have to skip over 3 and 4, creates our other half step. Just before the 1 is always a half step. In between the 3 and the 4 is always a half step. So, funny that that's 3 and 4 right there. But anyways, not related, but they do be brothers. Ha ha ha. Okay, so what notes overlap? So we have this note overlaps. That's not. This one is another one. We should have one more note that overlaps. There it is. We should have this one not overlap and that one not overlap. Perfect. Okay, so what notes are there? We have our original keys 3, 4, and our 3 are 6. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a B we know is our 7 in the key of C. 3 are 6 and a 7. What do they become? Where's our 1? This is our 1. We could even write that like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the beginners, so they don't get confused. So our 3 becomes a 1. We're gonna have a 1, and we're gonna have a 4 and a 5. 1, 4, 5. Hey, we know 1, 4, 5. We know 1, 4, 5 is basically 1, 4, 5. And if that's our 1, that means we have a square here. So we automatically, very quickly know that we're going to be, basically, we could use Dorian or Phrygian for this jazz change. So the blue notes would be the notes that we're going to jam on during the change, and the green notes would be the rest of the scale. So I don't have to draw out the whole scale, because if I was right there, I would know, oh, that's Phrygian, and I can handle that with the Phrygian and Dorian scale shapes, or overlapping pentatonics, if you want to think about it like that, or just call them that. So okay, we've got that. We'll make that a little more clear, so because blue and green kind of look the same, so we'll make those a different shape. So those are our steady notes. So in one chord, we're going to be jamming in this shape, with those of knowing that those are our special notes, our changeover notes, and when the key changes, we're just going to play those notes until the new chord shows up, and then because as soon as the new chord shows up, these green notes are no longer going to be, those are going to be avoid notes now. So that's our 1, 4, 5, but we need now a 3, 6, 7. What's a 3, 6, 7? So let's draw that out. 3, 6, 7. Oops, sorry, I messed all that up. Let's draw that out again. So, hey, we know our 3 is in our main box. So our main box is always a 71, 34, and then we have 2 and 2, 5 and 6. Okay, so where is our 3, 6, 7 is going to be here, here, and here. Now that looks a little opposite of that. So what the heck happened there? Well, we know our 6 and our 7. We know that that's going to be that. We can take our 3 and use an octave displacement and put it here. So in essence, and if I was thinking about this as the 6th and actually the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, so the B and the E string, the high E. Then if this would theoretically, if this was also B and E, then I just use octave displacement and put that there. So now we have this do 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 as do do do. Those are our blue notes. So in essence, we're going to need a scale that makes that work. Now, what we might want to do is not use this particular group of pentatonics. Let's get this figured out a little bit more. Let's see. We know we're using 6 and 7, so okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's imagine then that instead of being on the bottom two strings, we're on the middle two strings. So we're on the D and the G string. So let's get down here a little bit, get the notes up here. The D and the G string. Okay, so there's our box. On the D and the G string, we have this over on, well, just whatever the notes are. Doesn't matter. This is going to be our 1 and our 4 and our 5 of our original scale. But it's got to become a 3, 6, 7. So what we could be thinking is then if I was thinking about this shape on the D and G string, I would be thinking about my Dorian scale, which is got the box down here, there's my pentatonic, and there's my Dorian scale within the pentatonic, right? I'll put a dot for the pentatonic scale. 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4, and you can see the gut notes of the pentatonic scale, or the Dorian scale. So what would that become if we were just playing these notes 1 4 5 during the transition? What would we want to think about there? Well, that's going to have to become a 3 and a 6. Is that right? Oh no, a 6, sorry. A 6 and a 7. My bad. And then a 3 is going to be up here. Now, is that right? No. We'd have a, yeah. Sorry. So because because it would be 3 4, and it would be 3 4 71 34, because 4 7 4 7 4 7. The fourth note, seventh note, fourth note, seventh note. Okay, I was just thinking back to when I explained the tritone. That there may have been a mistake in there, but that's a row of tritones. But never mind. Okay, so the fourth note of the scale and the seventh note of the scale are a tritone apart. That's not the tritone of the one here, but those are a tritone apart. Going back to what I said earlier about tritones. But anyways, there's the box and there's the box, because once we know we got a box there, we know we have a box there. There's our 6, so there's our 3 6 7. So in other words, we were okay. I've got my bearings again. So now we're playing here, and we've kind of gotten out of our so we don't want to use Dorian here for this change. There is a way to make this super simple. I just I haven't thought of it yet, but there is that. Now we would be playing basically this scale here, where you could think about this. You'd be in that shape. You'd be kind of on the outside of Aeolian, and I think I just screwed up there. But anyways, okay, either way, that's kind of like not as memorable. As another way we can think about this is this. Going back to this shape here, 6, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 and 2 and 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're on a flat third. We're moving our chord. Our modulation is involving a flat third. So we're basically moving our box that way. So if we had a box, when we move down, I tend to use the Aeolian shape because the box is at the top two strings. So if I was moving it down that way, going from here to, let's say, here, this is going to be my new box. Well, one way I could handle that, I know that a box on this string is the Phrygian shape. So I'd be moving a Phrygian shape down and down. So my pentatonic is going to move down one fret, and I'm also going to be now thinking of my Phrygian shape instead of my Aeolian shape pentatonic. So to ultimately explain how this is workable in my mind is that the basic framework, the skeleton, is the pentatonic. So that makes it easy to understand the change. The skeleton is moving down one fret, and then the gut notes have to change. And I know how to turn a pentatonic into an Aeolian shape. I know how to turn a pentatonic quickly into a Phrygian shape, and I know how to turn a pentatonic into a Dorian shape. So that's how that works really quick. I know that for my change to a third, if I have to handle kind of going at a weird angle like that, well, I'm going to use usually Aeolian. I'm going to put my box at the top so that my pentatonic is an Aeolian shape, which has the box at the top, and it's going to set the box down on the 5th and 4th string. My Phrygian shape has the box there, and because it's down one fret, I know tells me my pentatonic is shifting down one fret. So not too hard there. And the same goes for the other way. So notice this shape is this way. Our threes go that way. So if you're moving, let's say this was C, we would be going G sharp. If you were moving to the key of G sharp, that also shares 3 notes. You would be moving up. So let's say you had your Phrygian shape on the key of C, B, C, E, F, which would be, in this case, down on the oops, sorry. Let's get you in camera here. Using the open strings here. So we would be moving that if we wanted to move to suddenly be playing G sharp. We were playing C. You think Jacob's Ladder there, I think, does that change. Interesting. But anyways, Mr. Rush on the brain. So I'm shifting to this key. So what are the notes that overlap there? Well, instead of using intervals, in that instance, we might want to use note names, so we'd know that we know we'd had a C. So what was it? It was C, D, E, F, G, A, B, going to G sharp, let's say. So there's our 1, our 2, our 3, there's going to be our 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we have F, G, and C as the overlap, so we know we have CF. See, once again, we are using 2 notes of the square. I think all the changes use 2 notes in the square. I have that in my my other package of lesson notes there, but it's not totally memorized. But as what I'm seeing here now, all of them, I believe, use 2 notes in the square. So at the very minimum, you can use 2 notes of the square. Now, they may not be the perfect notes for the chord of the moment, but at least they're in the scale, so to speak. So anyways, we've got... and, you know, you can use chord tones to do whatever I'm doing here, too. You could just play to chord tones and shift from the... but you might not know which chord tones, or you could kind of probably figure out... Anyways, the notes that stay the same here would be the figure out whatever chord you were on in the key is going to have one of these notes in it. So you'd figure out which 2 chords are overlapping the change and find out which there may only be 2 of these notes. It might even be 1 note that fits both chords. So that might be you might want to actually target just that 1 note instead of trying to play all 3. But you could probably get away with playing all 3 in a modal jams kind of session, modal modulation. Well, key modulation, but anyways, but let's say you were using modes of those keys, like you were in D Dorian shifting into the second mode of G sharp major, which would be G sharp, A sharp, Dorian, perhaps, right? So anyways, so since what did we have there? So we have a C and F, and where's the G? The G is right here. And so that would be in our pentatonic scale. It would look like that, or I'm sorry, in our Phrygian shape, while we're playing in the key of C, it would look like that. But now we want C, F, and G in our new scale for which is going to be up here. So we'd be up here. This would be G sharp. This would be G. Where are our new notes going to be? We're down in the now our old box is here. So and our old box had a note here. We'd have a C and our F, because those notes didn't change. Only our box moved from there to there. So we'd have this note, and then that note, but something went wrong. Something went wrong, baby. Something is wrong. Well, that works because G, but something messed up. What's going on here? Our C, F, and G, right? So am I doing that right? So we have C, F, and G. This is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we have our G. This is our G sharp. This is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So G is our 7. There's our 7. There's our 1, 3, 4. Oh, because I got a D listed there, which was dumb. Oh, that's what I did wrong. Okay, sorry, folks. That's my bad. Like when I'm live lessoning here, and 5 minutes later, I find out about the change, and you guys have been banging your head on the screen the whole time, like, what the fuck is he doing? Idiot, he's confusing everybody. So, oh, good. It's not even on the screen anyways. Ha 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 ha. disregarding that note there, you were in your Phrygian scale concentrating on this note, and this note, and or even perhaps where's the octave there? So the G, it's going to be a G down here, right? E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so G. So here you were in your original pentatonic shape. Okay. Noodling around. Those are your gut notes. It's the now you can see the Phrygian shape, and those are the notes you're concentrating on right there. But now you've moved your shape up to an Aeolian, so these are still the same notes. G. I don't count that note. And that's what the holdup was. So now we have our. You're like, wait a minute, that note's way over there. Yep, that one is in the scale, baby. Come on. There. So 1 4 1 3. The Aeolian also has the 1 4 there. 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. But the Aeolian gut notes are. There's the. So we'll make green to show you the actual scale. So you'd be playing those as the transfer notes. That would be the scale, and then stay on those notes, but picture this new scale shape here, Phrygian, and you're good to go. Do. I would know that because I would just know that. Are going to be the shape, and then I know my Aeolian is here. It's still going to be. See, they work with C. Yeah, so anyways, you can hear that both work with C. The F is a little off there because that kind of makes it suspended, but you can think of that as the 11. So what I just realized, so whenever you play a bar chord, you've got your one step up, you've got your Dorian shape. Well, a half step down from there is the Aeolian shape that works in the key of C over the A Aeolian shape. There's the A, so that's why it's called, you refer to as A Aeolian. So you're just basically, it's another half step change. You could just think of Dorian to Aeolian. So the point is, you can get all this worked out if it's something as complex. Now that was a complex one. That was the 3 changing to a 3. That's one step away from a 2. So it's a very abrupt change. It's not going to be used very often. And if you do decide to use it, take a minute to work it out on graph paper, and then you can work out. You'll see all the ways you can change, and that makes sense to you. You might favor doing the Dorian to a half step down into Aeolian change. You might favor this Aeolian into Phrygian change, and you can see the 3 notes that'll connect those. That's why it shares 3 notes, and go accordingly. So I hopefully that this is understood now, and let me know if you think that this would be. I'm going to read a comment here in a second. Thank you for the comment. I really, really appreciate that. We had somebody show up, Eric Esquivel. Hey, Eric, where are you from? Eric writes, good to see you doing your thing, Mark. Cool, man. Thanks, Eric. It's good. It feels great to be here because, boy, I spent a lot of time out on the road driving, and when you drive for a living, you just get a lot of time to think. And one of my thoughts always is, man, what about all them fans I got on my YouTube channel that want more material? That, another thing about driving is I need something to do while driving. I have my phone on the dashboard, and I can pump up YouTube videos, not to watch, of course, while I'm trying to drive, but as audio broadcasts. And so my favorite thing is my favorite channels that update every week. Or I'm like, if they don't update every week, I'm like, come on, man, give me a new video. I've watched everything. Just give me a new video. So I'm always thinking to myself, God, I'm ruining my channel by not updating every week. And I really haven't found a way to go. I can't go live unless I stop at a Wi-Fi hotspot. And that's, especially with the pandemic, it's hard to find any place where I can walk in with my laptop and start broadcasting away. So and sit there and talk about music theory without everybody giving me weird looks. So I can't do that on my personal connection, or I'll use up all my data. So I can't really go live. I'm stuck trying to make videos, and you just don't have time out there on the road. Between having to, when you get time to stop, you're busy doing laundry, you're trying to sleep because they're going to give you another overnight run. So when you're trying to clean the van up, so there's just nonstop stuff to do. Okay, or you just want to chill out and just watching YouTube because your mind is shot from having to concentrate on driving for 15 hours on end. Okay, so anyways, that's the lesson for today. Thank you once again, Eric Esquivel, for your comment there. Really appreciate that. Glad that you found the live chat. For everyone else that catches this later on, I hope this worked out for you. Leave a comment below about what you thought about the video, where I lost you, where it could, what I need to explain better for when I make this as a regular video. So, all right, that's it. We'll go from there. I hope to see you guys next time around, and cool. It was great going live today. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the flip side. Catch you on the back haul, as they say in trucking. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your modulations. Make some new music. Not only try it to modulate from like major to major, like Ionian to Ionian, but take your parent key and play in Lydian, and then switch to another parent key, but take that parent key and turn it into Dorian. So change from Lydian to Dorian plus a 4-note modulation or a 3-note modulation, and experiment with how those can sound. And when you can solo in between those, when you can make a song with a solo part that goes seamlessly in between those, you'll really impress your friends. See ya.